What's on, guys? J-Hoy back with you. Today, welcome back to Call of Duty Vanguard. We are back here on Boat Cage, whatever you want to call it. Probably, arguably my favorite map in this game, because you get to just run, gun, and just fly at people. And oh boy, do I love doing that. Not very good at it sometimes, but it's still fun nonetheless. But we are here for the CDL Major 3 recap. And oh boy, did we have a good event like we were expecting. So, our predictions, out the window. I don't think half of my series are even close, if you will. So let's start with it, right? First round of the winner's bracket featured Minnesota Rocker and LA Thieves. Well, Rocker have been up and down. They looked really good this stage. Well, they lose first round versus LA Thieves, who've been struggling, haven't really been able to figure it out, and they somehow win this one in the game 5. So LA Thieves knock Rocker out, send them down to the elimination bracket. LA Thieves move on. Second matchup, we have a pretty good one. We have Atlanta Faze versus Toronto Ultra. Faze handles business, 3-1 victory, sending Ultra down as well. So Thieves versus Faze in the second round. Third matchup of the first round. Now this is where it gets a little, I don't know what the word is, but a little scary for where are they behind me over here, the Optic boys. And no matter what team you would have put them against in this first round, they struggle against Mutineers, they struggle against Surge, and they just lost to the Subliners at the last event. I think they would have been fine versus Rocker, they would have been fine versus Faze, and then even LA Thieves, I'll throw on the other hand too, would they struggle against. So, you know, they have, as much as it doesn't seem like they had the harder side of the bracket, for them, the matchups were harder, right? If they would have faced off against Rocker, Faze, even Ultra, I would have said, you know, probably easy win. But then they face off against Mutineers, who have been giving them trouble for so long, and then they lose. Optic in the game 5, they almost brought it back. Close series. Obviously, game 5, Mutineers move on to the second round. Optic drops down to the elimination bracket, which sucks because, of course, biggest fan base, now you're going to lose some of your viewership. So now we got the last matchup of the winner's bracket. It was actually another good one. Seattle Surge versus New York Subliners. Surge move on. Surge looking good so far. They get to the second round. So then we have Mutineers and Surge left in the winner's bracket. So now we got to drop down to the elimination bracket. So we're going to have the first place Minnesota Rocker versus the Boston Breach. Rocker handle business. 3-0 Breach out. Here's what sucks for the Breach. They look really, they're like half of the, like from after the second place first Optic in Atlanta, you have like a third through like 11th. That all of those teams in there, those, what was that math, 8 teams, all of those guys could either win the whole group or the whole qualifiers, go 5-0, or they go 0-5, 1-4, and get double first rounded or first rounded and out of the tournament. But for Breach, you're not looking good. Something's got to change. I don't know if they're going to change rosters or what they're going to do, but they need to do something. They need to get it together because obviously champs right around the corner. I think it's like 2 months away or 3 months away, something like that. So now's the time. Now is the time. So the one team eliminated, let's make it 2. We got the Toronto Ultra versus the Paris Legion. And this one actually, I don't want to say closer, but it wasn't a 3-0, which was very surprising, where Ultra ends up winning this one, right? We assumed that was going to happen, or we predicted that was going to happen, I should say. So Legion bow out. Now, it doesn't say so officially on the CDL standings that Paris are eliminated from playoff contention, but they're going to have the hardest run possible. Obviously, you know, given that all these teams are starting in different places, Paris has to go 5-0 and win the entire major from the losers bracket in order to make champs. But then also the 3 teams that are ahead of them, or even 4 teams ahead of them, will basically have to lose out and get no points in the meantime. So most likely, probably within the first or second week of the qualifiers, Paris will be officially eliminated from playoff contention, or champs contention, I should say. And then we'll have our first team out. So Ultra move on, Legion bow out. So this is where it gets interesting. Another one of those teams that just is very inconsistent. LA Guerrillas versus Optic Texas. Guerrillas won, what was it, Major 2? Right, yeah, 'cause we're in Major 3. They won Major 2. Then they haven't done a thing since. They've looked terrible. And I mean like awful. Like they started the losers bracket this event. They get 3-0 swept by Optic. Now obviously Optic arguably still our best team. But how much longer can I say that if they don't make it to another grand finals? So here's the problem too. They're still playing with pro loot. So hopefully illey will be back soon and they can get back to their top form. But I don't know how much longer I can say Optic is the best team in the game without them either winning another event or getting to the grand finals. Because with Faze, they're arguably our best team too, but they've been in every grand final with the exception of the Pro-Am. Optic beat LA Guerrillas 3-0. Guerrillas bow out. Optic moves on. Next matchup, Subliners versus Royal Ravens. This one, you wouldn't expect it this way. Royal Ravens actually win this one. Again, Subliners. They won the Pro-Am. They just won the last event. And then they get first rounded out of the losers bracket. Gone. So that's what's so weird about this game is you win the last event, but now you're out in the first round in the losers bracket. Like, that's something that just doesn't really add up there. But either way, Subliner is out once again. Royal Ravens move on. So down to our final 8 teams going from the winners bracket. We have the LA Thieves versus Atlanta Faze. And after Thieves beat Rocker, I would have predicted that Thieves would have put up a pretty good performance against Atlanta Faze. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. It's the opposite. They don't really show up too much. Faze win 3-0. Faze move on. Thieves drop down. Then we have Florida Mutineers and Seattle Surge. Surge stays hot. 3-1 victory over Florida. Florida moves down to the elimination bracket. Surge, one of those teams, though, that could be 1-4, could be 0-5. Or they could be going to the winners finals. Like, you never know how this team is going to perform, especially given how inconsistent a lot of these teams are. They will never consistently place the same. And somehow they're doing it, right? They make it to the winners finals versus Faze. And they're waiting that winner, right? They're waiting that matchup. Down to the losers bracket, though. We got to catch up here. So we got Ultra versus Rocker. Ultra move on 3-0. So this is what's interesting. Minnesota Rocker, another one of those teams that just has been super inconsistent. We've been calling for roster changes. But then they come out this major qualifiers, go 5-0 with like a 15-3 map count. Then they lose in the first round versus Thieves. They then beat the Breach and then get 3-0'd by Ultra. So Rocker bow out. Again, is this the best team they can go in to champs with? Or can they even make it to champs with their current roster? You'd like to think they go 5-0, 15-3 map count. But then you lose in the first round, you beat Breach, who has been struggling, and then you'll get 3-0'd. So how much is that weight gonna, go on to? Maybe during the next stage here, or next major qualifiers here, maybe try out Major Maniac back in the team and see how that gets you. Right? I don't know how all the individuals perform this event, but again, something's got to change. You don't got much time left. But our second matchup of our elimination bracket, round 2. Optic versus London. This one, relatively simple 3-0 for Optic. They should be beating the Guerrillas and they should be beating the Royal Ravens consistently every time, all the time. You know, even when London was one of our best teams earlier in the year, they've handled business pretty easily. And, you know, they did it again. So, London Royal Ravens drop out. Ideas for them: get Gizmo back. You have not looked the same without him. He definitely was one of your best players, arguably. And you need him back. Plain and simple. Nothing against Harry, but just not it, right? He's just not performing up to that level. So now we're down to our final, what is this? Final 6. We have Faze versus Surge in the winners bracket. We have Mutineers versus Toronto and LA Thieves versus Optic. All remaining. As let's start down in the elimination bracket. So we have the Toronto Ultra versus Florida. Florida, again, one of those teams that will look super good, then look super bad, then look super good again, then look bad, then beat Optic, or beat Faze, or beat one of our top teams, then look awful, and it's all over the place. Very inconsistent for these guys, and they do it again. They lose versus Ultra, 3-0 fashion, Mutineers out. Again, plan for Florida, what do you do? They should be fine as far as standings go. You know, we'll talk about fully standings later, but actually they're not. So they sit in 10th right now in season standings, but you know, they have definitely the chance with London and Boston Breach and Guerrillas all kind of falling off. They definitely have the chance to move up. But again, we'll talk more about standings later on in the video, at the end of the video here. So next matchup, so Ultra move on, Florida is out. Next matchup, LA Thieves versus Optic Texas. Now this one, once again, LA Thieves is one of Optic's kryptonites, if you will, where realistically LA Thieves have been struggling, but they, just like Florida, just like Seattle, they match up so, I don't want to say good or so bad versus Optic, that it's always kind of one-sided, where Optic has not been able to beat them in a while. So, LA Thieves move on. Optic is out. What does Optic do? Hopefully, illey is back. You know, not blaming ProLoot at all. Obviously, he's come in and has done the best he possibly could. And, you know, getting this chance to play with Optic and it still look pretty good and make Optic still look like a really good team shows that they probably should sign him as a substitute. Unless he gets picked up by a starting team or a starting spot in the league, then I think you should definitely offer him a substitute spot. Assuming illey comes back and is healthy and ready to play, I still sign ProLoot to a substitute deal. So you have General, you have ProLoot, so you have all of your bases covered. Now this is the problem. Unless you get somebody that can play an AR, that can play a submachine gun role well, you need to not just have one substitute. Like, I get Faze and Optic only have one substitute because they have to. But in the cases of a lot of teams, if something happens to one of your key players that they can't play, or they get injured, or something happens to their hands, or, you know, family emergency, or something happens, are you prepared for that, right? Given that it was illey, where he's a flex player that plays an AR most of the time, General would have never fit in there great. He's a main AR, right? But now you have ProLoot, who could play a sub, who could play a flex role, and he can fill in there. So even if you lose a sub, if you lose an AR, you're covered, right? You can make that work temporarily, hoping that your original team gets back. But unfortunately, Optic do bow out, 5th-6. They look forward to the next set of qualifiers. They should be more than fine for playoffs, so they don't really have to worry about that. But hopefully illey gets back, they can get back to their full form, their full team, and they can hopefully get back to the grand finals. Well, that leaves LA Thieves versus Ultra. Round 4, top 4. Ultra versus Thieves. Another really good matchup. They almost matched up in the first round of the winners bracket, but we don't get it. We get it in losers bracket round 4. Ultra win this one 3-1. So Ultra move on to top 3, awaiting the loser of our next matchup, Atlanta Faze versus Seattle Surge. One of those matchups where it could go a lot of different ways. It's similar to Optic, where Seattle, the Floridas, they match up really well against Atlanta and Optic. This case, Seattle wins the game 5 versus Atlanta, denies the grand final spot with a chance to get it from the losers bracket, but Seattle make it to our grand finals. Seattle does. The team that currently is in 3rd in the league, that again it's been up and down, inconsistent, in and out, backwards, upside down, whatever it may be. They have not looked consistent, but somehow they do it. They make it through New York, they make it through Florida, and now they make it through Atlanta, and they make it to the grand finals. So again, hell of a run by them so far, but we still got 2 teams that are going to be in their way. So we're going to have Faze versus Ultra. Another really good matchup, a rematch from winners round 1 with a similar result. A little bit of a different game count, or a map count I should say. This time it's a game 5. Atlanta does win this one though. Like I said, in that game 5, sending Faze to the grand finals for a rematch against the Seattle Surge. And for the 5th time this year, we are, like I said, 5th time, 5. Every single tournament, we will now have a new winner. That's insane. To have our 5th tournament and our 5th different winner. That's incredible. Very incredible. But either way, we got Seattle Surge versus Atlanta Faze. And what do you say? It was game 5 in the winners bracket finals. This time it almost goes the full distance to game 9. But the Seattle Surge win Major 3 in Toronto to become our champions. How they do it, I have no idea. But somehow Seattle wins this one. Atlanta, another grand finals loss. As far as Faze goes, I mean, keep it up. I don't know what to say about it too much here. But Faze has been consistently good. They've been good all year. They've made multiple grand finals. They've just yet to win the tournament, and they've yet to beat Optic. So, 2 things that they're going to try to work on, according to, including those 2 things. So, we'll see them at the next qualifier. Nothing much to really change for Atlanta. For Seattle, be consistent. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if you can do this the rest of the year and be in contention for that top 4, you're in a good spot. Not much to say about it. Just find the way to be consistent. That's a message for a lot of the teams. Be consistent, and something will happen for you. But final pricing is on your screen now. Seattle Surge, $200,000. Atlanta Faze, $120,000. Toronto Ultra, $80,000. LA Thieves, $40,000. Optic Texas and Florida Mutineers, $20,000. Minnesota Rocker, London Royal Ravens, $10,000. And in 9th through 12th, Boston Breach, Paris Legion, Los Angeles Guerrillas, and New York Subliners, all getting 0 prize money. So all of those matches, all of the season so far has led to our current 2022 overall standings is on your screen now. So this also gives an update on CDL points as well. And this is what's the interesting part, is this one already has Paris crossed off for, I'm guessing that's playoffs. So keep that with an asterisk there. This is not from the official CDL, I don't believe. Yeah, it's from COD Gamespedia. So not the totally 100% official, standings for Paris and, being out, but let's just give in this to what it is. So Atlanta, still our number 1 team as far as the standings go, but again, are they our number 1 team? Is Optic still the number 1 team? Is Optic still number 1 since Atlanta hasn't beaten them? Like, how do you really want to put that, right? I mean, the Optics played 27 matches. Faze has put, 30 matches. So 3 matches different, and you look at the map count. Optics won a little bit less, but they've also lost a lot less matches than Atlanta has. But of course, Optic in our 2nd spot with 225 CDL points. Seattle Surge in 3rd with 175. London with 150, Toronto with 140, Boston Breach with 130, LA Guerrillas with 125, LA Thieves with 120, Minnesota Rocker and Florida with 110, New York Sunliners with 70, and Paris at 20. That's just incredible. Plain and simple, that's just incredible. But now let's just talk about this real quick. Now we're going to make a full post major power rankings video, but this is going to be a good matchup. Like, you basically have 100 points difference from 3rd through 11th. So any of those teams, 3rd through 11th, right? Seattle, London, Toronto, Boston, LA Thieves, LA Guerrillas, Minnesota, Florida, and New York. We're going to see a lot of movement between all of these teams. I think London's going to fall out, Boston will fall out, LA Guerrillas will fall out, and probably Paris. That's kind of my guess right now, where Paris will be 12th, probably Guerrillas will be 11th, Boston will probably drop out. Maybe again they'll come back into it, but there's going to be some surprising teams that move around in this last set of major qualifiers. Like, this is so big for so many teams. Like, I don't know all the tiebreakers and stuff and how exactly this is going to work, but this is going to be a good event. Everyone's going to be playing their absolute heart out, with the exception of Paris. But either way, we have a great event ahead of us, or a great event behind us. We're going to have a great event ahead of us as well. Major 4 qualifiers, probably starting like the next week or two. And then, of course, that's going to be huge because then we're going to be working our way towards champs. But that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below if you haven't yet. Or if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe, turn those post notifications on so you never miss an upload. And don't forget, you can always change your mind later. But all that being said, guys, we'll see you in the next one.